I'm Rodney Edwards. I'm just a poor old country boy. We lived on Sheriff Branch for 18 years, I think it was, and my mama had to have surgery, and we didn't have no running water, no bathroom in the house. All we had was lights. And this was in the 70s, early 70s. And Mama told Eddie, she said, when I go to the hospital, I ain't coming back here. So they had to find a place to live, and I told Mama, I said, 1974, I said, I ain't never coming back to this area. Never. I'm a son of a bitch. I'm 2 miles from where I was born and raised. Bought a house out there. But anyhow, I've been working on stuff since I was 13. My first vehicle was a 50cc mini trailer. It was a bicycle case. Paid $50 for it. Put it together and I rode the crap out of that thing for I don't know how long. And I went to work for, I don't know if y'all remember this or not. River Road used to be the only road to Greenville, Tennessee. And there's a couple of stations down there. The only one was Lackey's, Economy Oil Company. And I went to work for him in 1968 for 50 cents an hour, and I got chocolate milk I could drink. And it worked, and I worked down there for years, me and David Button, which was my neighbor across the road. And so I worked there 2 or 3 years, and then back in the 70s, we had long hair. I don't have it, but we had long hair. So I come up to Mr. Lackey, super guy. I was working for $1 an hour. He bumped me up to $1 an hour. And it's at the table, no taxes, but still. So when I started high school, I said, JR, I said, I'd like to have a raise. He said, what do you think's fair? I said, I'd like $2 an hour. He said, your hair's too damn long, you're fired. So he fired me. So I was dating Bobby Cox's daughter, and he worked at Iceville Showcase back in the day. And they traded with Maryland Avenue Exxon, which was J.B. Brown's Exxon back in. And it was at the end of, how many of y'all remember the farmer's market on North Lexington? Yeah. You right up there with me now. But he was right there, right as you come out of North Lexington onto Maryland Avenue, right there in that deal. And I went up there and done a job interview, and he said, you got any experience? And I said, yeah, I worked at a gas station attendant. I was short and little back then. I had to jump up on the fenders to clean the windshield at Lackey's. But anyway, he gave me a job, started me on $100 a week. You know, when you're that age, you think you're just in high cotton. And before that, I had went to, I had a 3-wheel mud bug. I bought it off of Williams Hardware. Anybody remember Williams Hardware at the red light on Main Street? Anyway, I bought a 3-wheel mud bug off them, and I drove the crap out of the thing. And I sold it, and I went to Blue Ridge Honda on Patton Avenue. Anybody remember that? Okay, there's where Wendy's used to be on Patton Avenue. And I bought me a CB100 Honda. Never had a car. And that's all I had to ride. And I bought that and paid cash money for it. I saved my money up. Put the tag and insurance in my brother's name. For 2 months, I had to put it back in the shop. So it wasn't fast enough. I ran it so hard, I walked every valve in that motor. They had to put another motor in it under warranty. So anyway, I rode a motorcycle for years, but anyway, JB put me on. I started out day shift, 73. And back then, you stuck the tanks, you wrote everything down, read the pipes and everything. And I worked it, and then in the fall, I was going back to school, so he put me in charge of second shift. No, I mean, just 3 months into working. So that's mainly where I got started. And so I worked there for 9 years, and then he let me go, and then I worked a couple other places. But then I ended up, Teresa helped me get on an Apple Tree Chevrolet, we was dating at the time. And I worked there, what, 4 years, 5 years, something like that. So anyway, I was ASC Chevrolet certified, drove a wrecker, and did about anything that needed to be done. And then, anybody remember Rudy Pelly Dodson? Used to be on Tom Road. Well, he was buying out the Chevrolet, and we'd heard some rumors about him. So Red P, that I used to work with at Raymond Exxon, was opening up a station in Woodford, and it's called Red 66. Any of y'all remember Reds? I worked down there for 13, 14 years. And I found out some things that he was doing to me, and I was a loyal worker. My daddy always said, if you work for somebody, give them 110%. Well, I did. And I was loyal to him. But he was doing stuff that I didn't appreciate, so I decided to open my own business up. And me and Teresa discussed it, and Butch and Jody Rice said, "Oh, Garner Artoin, he's my best friend. He died here a while back." But anyway, Butch said, "Rodney, whatever you want to do, we got your back." I said, "Okay." And we done a lot of praying over that. So I borrowed some money, and I've been going back and forth to. Anybody remember Ben Radford's Volkswagen shop on Weaverville Highway? Okay, Ben had retired, and so I was going back and forth to Granny's to get me something to eat during lunch a few days. And I noticed every now and then I'd see the lights on inside and somebody walking around. I got to do this. I want that place. So I stopped. He wasn't there. So I let another week go by. I stopped again. He was there. And I told him, I said, Ben had been bringing, we sold propane down at Red, so Ben had been bringing these propane bottles down there for me to fill up. And I knew him. And I said, Ben, I want to leave Red and I want to rent your place. He said, well, I don't know if I want to do that or not. And I said, well, think about it and I'll come back in a week. So we went by and I was antsy as all get out with him. And I asked him, I said, you thought about letting me rent this? And he said, yeah, I guess I could. And I asked him what he wanted, and he told me. Ben Radford was the best Volkswagen. He was number 2 in the world working on Volkswagens. He could take a motor out of a Volkswagen in 5 minutes. That's how good he was. And he done his own everything. He had a machine shop there, valves, heads, everything. And he had a pile of stuff, like this row of people sitting right here. It was this high. And I said, he said, when do you want to start? And I said, yesterday. And he said, well, you got to give me time to get this crap out of the way. And I said, okay. I said, how long? He said, give me a week. So here's the fun part. So I had to give Red 2 weeks' notice. That didn't go too good. I didn't sleep that weekend before I talked to him. And I don't know if y'all know Red P. Love him to death, and I learned a lot from him. I don't treat people the same way he does, but I learned a lot from Red. He is the hardest son of a bitch in the world to work for. He really was. But I learned a lot. But I went in, you went in at 7:30 and you got off at 6. No overtime. So I got there, it's in April, I think it was. We opened in May. And I said, Red, I need to talk to you. And he said, why? He said, get your ass quartered. I said, no, I need to talk to you. So we talked, and I said, I'm giving you 2 weeks' notice. He said, you're going to what? He said, you're crazy. I said, no. I said, I'm giving you 2 weeks' notice. First week, everything, I mean, I could not make that man happy. The second week, he kissed my behind. He did not want me to go. Because, see, I'd run the place, and that's how working at the Exxon station running second shift and working for him when he's on vacation or whatever is how I learned what I knew. So, the last day he got his brother-in-law's record, he loaded my toolbox up. And I got a big toolbox, ain't it, Terry? It's a big one. But anyway, it took that record. All I could do to get that box up on there. And so we took it down, and my best friend David, that lived across the road, we used to work at Lakers together. He was down there helping me get stuff up, because he wanted me to open my own shop. We unloaded that record, and I said, that toolbox off that record, and I said, Red, you want to come see my shop? No, just get in that truck, just get the truck. It's okay. As we crest the top of that hill up there, he looked up at me and he said, you'll never make it. I said, yeah, well. He said, you'll never make it. He said, you like to spend money. You don't have no control over it. You don't know what the hell you're doing. I said, did you know anything what you wanted to do? He said, that ain't the point. He said, you'll never make it. May the 3rd, 1999, I opened my shop at Ben's. I worked there the first week. I was supposed to have 3 cars to work on. Nobody showed up. I was scared to death. I didn't know what the hell's going on. I didn't. I was holding signs up on the road. Yes, I'm open. Come in and see us. I mean, I thought the right things. The second week, I did more of that second week than I did in a month working for Red. And it was just wide open after that. I had an electrician buddy, he's a Vietnam vet, Buddy Brady. Called him Headlight. The reason I called him Headlight, he tried to put some headlights in little dots in the hair. And he put them in backwards. So he got the nickname Headlight. But I had to have some electrical work at the shops. He'd come in there and help me. Never charged me a dime. He was my first customer that second week. I still got the $10 bill. Sure was. But anyway, I worked daylight and dawn, 5.5 days a week. Teresa would have to come and help me out of the truck, get me in the house. And we did like this for 10 months, and then I finally couldn't find nobody to work. It wasn't as bad then as it is now, but anyway, finally got me a crew. I had a crew of 5 and worked there. And we was there right at 4 years, and I wanted to go bigger. So I've been talking to a couple of parts guys that deliver parts out in Weaverville from Napa uptown. And Ron, I can't remember Ron's last name. Anyway, he's telling me that Eddie Deal wanted to go out. He owned this place here. And so I had to talk to his wife, Teresa. And so I went out there and talked to her, and I said, I heard you want to get out of your lease. She said, yeah, Eddie's going back to driving the truck. My daddy's in here doing mechanic work. And I said, okay. I said, what's it going to take to get out of your lease? She said, well, you'll have to talk to Mr. Coon. Okay, there's a story behind Mr. Coon. So I said, okay, how'd I do that? She told me where to call and everything. And so I got a hold of him. Excuse me. And this was owned by the West family. I think in 1900. Thereabouts, close to it. Well, Ice Oil Company, which is owned by the Coons, which was Nicholas Coon. He bought them out in 1930. And they're the only 2 owners that's ever owned that place since it's been there. And you will never, ever buy that place because they never sell their property. They lease it, make their money, but they never sell their property. And me and him got hooked up, and 2004, on Labor Day, we opened up. The only day I worked on Labor Day. And we opened the shop up, and had some friends of mine. I actually run Teresa and her daddy out, and me and a couple of my friends repainted the whole front of the place, inside. It was Napa blue and dark gray. Dark gray. It's ugly. But every service station I've worked in is either light gray and white, or white and light gray. So I painted light gray and white. And didn't have no guys, but I run it just like a service station. And so that's when it started.